Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh Katz. I am here with Ryan Esteban, who is sitting in the dark corner of the room right now, as well as Kathy Baker. Hi, both of you. How are you guys?
Good.
Great. There's something weird going on with my camera, and I wonder if it's because we're going to talk about retirement, and I'm like kind of getting there. It's like I'm on Star Trek and I'm starting to fade away. If somebody needs to, Josh, could you beam me back in?
Yes, I will. Well, but Kathy, I was actually just going to say, Ryan, we haven't talked about Kathy's new title yet, have we?
We have not. Somebody got a new title change recently.
Yes, Kathy is now part of our C-suite. She is our chief coaching officer, so she's a long way from retirement. She's not going anywhere anytime soon.
You need to come back.
No. And I have an incredible team to pour into, and that's what I'm excited about, because not only did that happen, but I also joined your team.
Yes.
And so I'm just so excited about that, to work even closer with you guys.
Yes.
And that's very.
The three of us have obviously been a team for a long time, but Kathy is now officially underneath the marketing I mean, big umbrella, but underneath the marketing side of things. So we are now all officially on paper, according to Realty ONE Group, a team.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
That's right. Thank you. And I'm excited to have Brandon here today. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, we have Brandon from Arcwood, who they are the ones behind our One Future program, which is a super, super cool program. For those that do not know Taylor and Paige's team, this is something that they brought on to the company, and it's pretty revolutionary. So, Brandon, I would love to just introduce you, and you kind of give like a bird's eye view of One Future.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Kathy. My point with Kathy fading in and out, I thought it was like a cross promotion for the new Ghostbusters or something like that. Looking a little ghostly.
Which looks great, by the way. I'm very excited for that movie.
10,000 feet on One Future. So it's really a retirement plan platform or exchange for all of the real estate professionals within the Realty ONE Group family. So it's a place for them to go look at different retirement plan options, kind of compare them, but also on the fly, actually use a web app system to actually open an account right there. Goes to a DocuSign, and it lets them actually establish a retirement plan account where they can go ahead and fund that at their own discretion, or do recurring contributions, anything like that.
So, Kathy, from your perspective of being in this industry a lot longer than me, is this this is a pretty cool thing, right? A pretty cool phenomenon that Realty ONE Group's doing with Arcwood?
It's revolutionary. It really is. And what it does is it opens so much opportunity for tax benefits, for retirement. Retirement has not been a safe word, if we will use that term, for realtors for a long time. And a lot of realtors with the average age of 57, membership of NAR. This is critical. This is just so important. What it does for the realtor is it gives you a nest. What it does for co-careers is it gives them an opportunity to go ahead and transition out of what may or may not have been a full-time career and into real estate, which many of them have been desiring to do for a long time, with a very safe and soft landing. So, Brandon, thank you. This is unheard of for the independent contractor to have this kind of resource available.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, we worked with Realty ONE Group for a long time. We actually managed the corporate plan. So for all those folks who are W-2 employees of Realty ONE Group, we managed that plan for a while. And when Realty ONE Group, they took it to RFP, they wanted to see if there was something the market could do for them, for not just themselves, but all of their agents and real estate professionals across the United States. And they came back to us and they said they wanted us to do it. And, we worked really hard with your marketing team and your engineers to build this website so each and every single person within the ecosystem could open their own type of account and actually make it easier to start saving for retirement. So we don't really see a lot of this in the industry. There maybe is one other brokerage that offers something like it. But we won't say who that is, but I will tell you it's not good. And yours is much better in terms of features and costs for sure.
And have you seen, and this might be a question on our side of things, but like, what's the adoption rate like so far? Have you seen our network? I mean, obviously there can be things improved from the marketing side of things or on the optics side of things, but how have you seen our network so far?
It's been a little slow, but in all honesty, we did launch the program in the tail end of 2022, 2023, the worst real estate market these folks have seen ever, possibly, or in a very long time. So, for a lot of people trying to put a little more of their discretionary income away for the future, this might not have been the best year, right?
Sure.
But we're here for the long term. Right. And, what I say to those people is you can start with as little as, $25 a month, $50 a month, just get it established. And then, if you are in a position where you aren't doing as many transactions as you're used to, once we get back and the markets improve for you, you already have this opportunity to do much, much larger. And I'll kind of get into the numbers. There's going to be too many numbers. I apologize, but that's what it's about. But really large, significant tax deductions to help you out in those really good years too.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I know I asked kind of a loaded question, but that was it was kind of the point, because we as a brand realized in a very, Kathy's word, in a shifting market of a year, that this was something that our professionals needed. And I kind of want to go back to the point that you said, Kathy, of if you're an independent contractor, maybe you're not even a real estate agent, what do you do when it comes time for you to hang up your hat and call it a career and you want to, quote unquote, retire, but you don't have a retirement plan? Like, I think that, is that something that a real estate agent in their 20s or 30s thinks about? Is that?
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And sadly, I've been doing this a long time and I've run some pretty big operations. And what I've seen is, and this is very sad, but it's so true. I've seen people drag in. I've seen people not have a plan and wake up and go, oh shit, I'm old and I don't have a plan. And I've also seen them not, that's an aging reality. I've also seen them not have a retirement advisor like Brandon, and also not have a financial advisor or even a good tax person to say, hey, you need to be deferring some of this income and putting it away. Just because you make $300,000 a year in a good year doesn't mean you need to spend 310.
Right.
Why don't we start doing what Brandon said? And I think, now that I think about it, Brandon, and I'd love your opinion as we approach what we call in real estate Tax Extension Day, April 15th. Is a slower market not the time to plan for this? Is a slower market when you're already having to be extremely cautious not the time to plan to do this, rather than a time when everybody's fat and happy and woohoo, mama gets a new purse, with all this money? What is your opinion of that?
It all comes down to, all savings comes down to time value of money. The earlier you can start, the more you're going to have. How much you save and when you start saving are the number one contributors. It's the rate of return it's a distant eighth on the list. Really, we see historically, given the stock market, money doubles every 7 to 10 years, right? So even if you can't get as much in the current market or when you're younger, those amounts will be worth way more than those large deductions you're able to make at the tail end of your career when you're at your optimal performance. So, the right time to start. Also, I think maybe, I'm speaking out of my lane, right? Because I'm not a real estate professional here, but it's the same as the right time to buy a home. And it's the sooner you can, right? With the house, it's like, don't time the market. It's buy one when you can afford it. Get into the market. Yeah. It's the same exact thing with any type of savings. The sooner you can do it, doesn't matter how much, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
I think that's very great advice. And I kind of wanted to ask, just so as we build our adoption rate, what's maybe a piece of advice, something you could say to our network of agents, like what's something that they would absolutely, other than the actual savings themselves, like how would their business benefit? As opposed to just, okay, I'm 65 years old, I'm ready to retire, I now have this amount of money that I'm sitting on. Like, how will it benefit them now in their current business?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to answer that question. One way I answer it is, you're professionals, you're running businesses, right? All these real estate professionals, no matter how large their practice is, if it's just them or if they're part of a team or if they have showing agents or anything like that, you're still a business, just like any self-employed lawyer, any self-employed doctor. The architects too, we work with a lot of them, and those business professionals, all of them are establishing retirement accounts, right? Mm-hmm. They know that, they might get income past normal retirement date, call that 65, 66, whatever we're pushing out to year over year, but they're saving too. And I think you need to treat this career like you're a professional, like the professional you are with everything else. You spend money on marketing, right? You spend money on different tools to help you expand your practice. You work with accountants to make sure you're getting your budget right. The other facet of this, all other business owners, they're focusing on getting some kind of insurance to protect themselves, right? Be it disability or life insurance or health insurance, right? But the last facet of that is also supplementing your future retirement income and operating your career like more of a business, because that's what most other self-employed individuals are doing.
Kathy, excuse me, have you seen from maybe the generation of real estate professionals behind us that are now getting into retirement or already in retirement? Is this an issue, a pandemic of people not having a retirement when they're ready to call it quits?
I think it is. And Brandon, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I've seen it. And I would encourage people, and Brandon, you correct me on this because I'm not an investment specialist, but what I see, Josh, is a lot of realtors look at what are the passive streams of income? Is it going to be flipping houses? Is it going to be investments? Is it going to be doing property management? I think a retirement account should have that same level of attention, intention. I'm going to invest in properties to have passive income. I'm going to invest in my future through retirement, which is going to be safe and secure. And I think in the absence of that security, realtors keep rolling in, trying to do one more commission until they just fade out. Where that is so risky to me, and where I think as broker owner affiliates and brand, we have a responsibility is to teach tomorrow's leaders how to build that business to sell, which we've talked about in the program that we've developed through One Legacy, but also how to save. How do I remarket this book of business, but how do I also bank a savings or bank a retirement that's going to give me that level of comfort, so that I'm not thinking, man, I got to get one more deal and I'm 105.
Yeah.
To that, that brings up a lot of points. So there's a lot of, I don't have the data on how many agents in the United States or real estate professionals are saving for retirement. The data just doesn't exist. Everything I have is anecdotal as well, but it doesn't look good. And what we're seeing is a lot of the reasons are, so one reason we talk about a lot is real estate professionals, they spend a lot of their times networking, right? And they're out there and they're meeting a lot of financial professionals. So I'm a recovering financial planner, right? I'm a CFP. And they're meeting all these different, either certified or non-certified financial advisors, insurance brokers, et cetera, et cetera. And they're seeing all these different products. And one guy is saying, get a SEP IRA. Another gal is saying, buy life insurance as an investment. It's a super Roth IRA. Somebody else is talking to them about annuities. Further up the risk spectrum, people are talking about limited partnerships, right? Invest in this apartment complex or this new hotel building chain, or all these different things. And what we really see is paralysis by analysis. So they look at all these options and they just want to do what's best, right? They want to get the best rate of return they can, the most compounding. And what happens is they end up doing nothing because they're afraid of doing the wrong thing. And what I say in a lot of these presentations is, I'm telling you, I'm a fiduciary. I have to tell people exactly. The solo 401k is hands down the best retirement saving option you can have, right? It's completely vanilla, right? It's not that super sexy, 20% return. Somebody's promising 25, 30% return, which is probably a unicorn and not true anyhow. These are traditional mutual funds. And it's the largest tax deduction you can possibly get in any year in a retirement vehicle. So we've already done all the work. This is the best vehicle. It's normal, traditional, diversified investments, and it will be here for the long run. I touched on that one other point there. So a lot of people having paralysis, not doing it because they want to do the best thing. But we also see a lot of real estate professionals, like, their risk profile is not in the middle of the bell curve. We have a lot of real estate professionals that are just scared of the stock market and don't want to invest in it at all, no matter how diversified it is, for whatever reason, which is a little weird to me because you're used to volatility. And then at the other side, we see them, instead of investing in just like a S&P 500 index fund, they're buying these limited partnerships, which, those either hit or they don't hit at all, right? These small fractions of apartment complexes you can buy, or the office buildings, things of that nature. And we really are hoping to see a shift and get more people just doing the real bread and butter retirement savings like everyone else in the United States is doing in their 401k in corporate America. It's probably a long answer, sorry.
No, you bring up a lot of really good points. I think, and this is one of the reasons why we have you on the podcast, you're right. Real estate professionals deal with volatility that's just the nature of this industry. But I would venture to guess a lot of them don't know the volatility of the stock market, therefore it scares them. And so we've now partnered with Arcwood. We've created One Future. We're having you on the podcast. We're trying to educate our network that this is a good thing, that don't be scared. This is actually something that's going to benefit your not only your current business, but your life long after your business. And so I think that it's one of those things, Kathy, that it once again, I said this in the last episode, but not to be corny, like, it makes you proud to be part of a brand that is truly looking out for its people, not just trying to make an extra buck.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that how important this is to Kuba, how important this is to the resources Paige and Taylor put behind it, your time today to help spread the word. It matters because, they all know real estate professionals can work later than normal retirement age. And a lot of time they do, right? Yeah. They work at 65 and 66 and they can still do transactions. You can do a lot of transactions.
Sure.
But it would be nice if you didn't have to, right? Or something to supplement it. So, right, if you get one or two transactions later in retirement, that's nice, even more money to go on more trips. But let's have, a baseline here to go along with Social Security to kind of help retirement.
I agree. I know Kathy, I know we had our company-wide meeting a little while ago, and the news is obviously public now, but Vinny Tracy is going to be retiring soon. And Vinny gave a very emotional and heartfelt talk to a lot of our corporate members. And Vinny loves work. He loves what he does. But the reason why he said he's finally retiring is he wants to spend more time with his wife and his children and his grandchildren. And it doesn't matter how much you love work or what you do, like, nothing will replace stuff like that. And so there is a need for you to, at some point, stop working. And so I think that setting that up now will really benefit you in the long run.
Yeah. Well, and I think I want to go back and reemphasize something Brandon said. If we can get in front of our new agents and provide this opportunity for them as if they would have it in a public job, in a W-2 job, and really articulate why it's important. Not for when you're 62 or 72, but when you're 22 or 32. I think that's really important. So, Brandon, what would you say would be maybe the first three things or the most important three things an individual should do regardless of their age? Because it's never too late, but I would have to believe, as you said earlier, it's a compound effect. The earlier, the better.
Yeah. So the numbers have always worked out, and it's a rule of thumb. I like retirement calculator. I'm a nerd. I like calculators, right? But really, just rule of thumb is everyone, as soon as they start working, they're supposed to be saving 10% of their net income. I mean, that's it. And that number is kind of based on around 30, right? If you're blessed enough to have enough discretionary income prior to 30, or you're smarter than I was in your 20s, and you want to save for retirement instead of spending all that on beer, you could probably bring that number down.
You're making me feel a lot better about myself right now, Brandon. Thank you. Keep going.
But if you go past 30, you're going to have to start increasing the amount you save. Because like I said, money doubles every 10 years. If you don't start when you're 30 and you start when you're 40, you're going to have to put twice as much away. If you don't do it when you're 40, right, you miss a whole compounding period. So this means when you're 50, right, you're going to have to be putting 25%, 30% of your net income away. So really, by starting earlier, right, maybe even like if you're in beer buying age, right, you don't have to save as much later. And that means you have more discretionary income to afford an even better lifestyle in those later years, right? When you're going to be when you're going to be wanting to have a bigger house because you have more kids, or you want to buy an office or more toys or more trips. The earlier you can start, you're going to be able to afford a much better lifestyle down the road, because you're not going to be having to take as much discretionary income away for a future retirement.
And I think it's also really like finding that it's a small sacrifice that's not going to drastically change your current lifestyle, but it's going to exponentially change the latter part of your life.
Yeah, I think the example I usually use, gosh, I don't know if I have the numbers, but to your point, Josh, you don't feel it as much, right, when you start earlier, and you don't feel it as much because it's tax deductible.
Yeah.
So let's say you're putting 10% of every transaction you do away per year. It really only feels to most people, if you're in a 25% effective tax rate, like you're putting away 7%, right? So it doesn't hurt as much as you think it's going to hurt, because you're getting that big tax deduction. Therefore, the money's not going to the IRS, and it feels like it's left out of your pocket, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you're bringing up a very big point that I want to discuss right now about our brand and our model that's so important. Is we are not a split company. And when you talk about 10% or 15% or 20%, when professionals come to us, they're not paying that 30% split that is most common in the market. They're paying a transaction fee. So when you talk about having a tax deductible, I think we're better trained, and I want your opinion on this. So let me think how to say it. As salespeople and 1099 people, we're better trained to look for a tax deduction than we are the smart spending, smart investing. And I think it's language. I think if we can switch the language and allow professionals to hear, do this and it's non-taxed income. We're going to bypass the split. We're going to bypass the tax deduction because you're deferring it before you even have to take it to your tax return. Is that true?
Yes and no. Like once you do, because you can make these deductions all the way up until, like you said, tax extension. So you can take it at any point you want. You can make the deferrals during the year or all the way until, however far you can extend your taxes to. But Kathy, I think that's a good point. Like some people get saving for retirement and it's important to them. Maybe they saw their parents didn't do enough, or they were in a working environment where somebody just infused that importance into them. But a lot of people don't. But I think the carrot of tax deductions is good enough too. So that I'm going to try to stay away from too many numbers, but like big picture, the tax deduction on the solo 401k is huge. We're talking about $75,000 plus in tax deductions per year. That's, completely adjusting your adjusted gross income down significantly. That's more than you can get in an IRA, a simple IRA, a SEP IRA. It's the biggest deduction outside of, unless you need more than $75,000, which we can do too. It's a huge tax deduction. And what we sometimes see is when people get into self-employment and they start looking at all their business deductions, and they kind of get taught wrong that those are the only types of deductions, right? So every year they're doing a new lease for their car and putting that under the business, or they're getting a new iPad or a new iPhone and they're doing all those deductions, and that's fine, right? Because you're using those things. But those assets depreciate, right? In 3, 7, 10 years, depending if it's a truck or whatever, those things are going to be worth close to zero. We're talking about going from $5,000, $10,000 in tax deductions per year to $75,000 if you need it, right? And that money is not only tax deductible to you, but that money is going to be down there for you in the future, and it's going to snowball multiple times. Right? Every 7 years, that $75,000 from that 1 year is going to be doubling. It's going to become $150,000. It's going to become $300,000. It's going to become $600,000. So yeah, I think just encouraging with the tax deduction works well too.
You know what I love about this, Josh, is my head's hurting a little bit, and this is why we partner with retirement advisors.
I agree.
Because I can sell the breath out of a house, but I really need help with this. And I don't mind admitting that. This is something I really need advice on, and a trusted advisor. So Brandon, I really appreciate you so much, and just encourage people to really find out about this. As you said, this is the time to do it, right now. And then just set it and forget it, because you will forget it.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't like looking at this stuff. You don't need to look at it. Josh, we talked about like fear in the stock market, and I'll touch on that for just a second, but just looking back on the stock market, it's just like the real estate market. Yeah. And it goes in corrections, right? Those bear markets, those bull markets. And what happens is 1 out of every 7 years, I can't tell you which of the 7 years, the stock market goes down 20% or more, right? But every single time that's ever happened, it's come back up and hit new heights. Right? There's no one out there that's going to be able to tell you with any sort of ongoing confidence when to buy and when to sell. So what we tell people is just keep doing it, invest in all the periods. Every 7 years, you're going to see your account balance go down more than 20%, but it's going to come right back up and it's going to hit new heights for you.
No, I think that's great advice. I think this episode alone will be very eye-opening for a lot of our network. And that was one thing I wanted to stress before we go is for those that are a part of our network, for those that are currently agents with Realty ONE Group, I strongly encourage you to check out our One Future program. For those that are not, you're missing out. And for those that are not a part of our network, it's another reason to join. So Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. This was very, very helpful, and I think our network's going to love it. And if you guys have any more questions, please reach out to learning@realtyonegroup.com. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.